Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wing Game, and it's setting down Twitter the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of A Fall from Grace. Excuse me, so y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alrighty, about to turn into that alleyway. Something didn't seem right. Cedric came to a halt and glanced worriedly at his friends before finally stepping into the alley and out of sight. And as Cedric had turned back then and there, perhaps nothing might have happened that night. Oh, shit. Well, that's not good. That's no good. In fact, none of the friends would have encountered the masked figure who was waiting for them in the shadows. Lysander and the others stood still for a moment as they waited for Cedric to reappear. Hey, Cedric, you alright? Why isn't he coming back? I don't know. Well, where is he? A few seconds later, the coyote finally reemerged from the darkness. The others were very relieved to see him. He gave us such a fright! But they soon noticed there was someone else with him. And this someone else was holding a dagger to his throat. Your money, pretty boys, and nobody gets hurt. The group stopped in their tracks as the figure walked up to them. There was a short and awkward silence as they began looking around worriedly. None of them were sure what to do, let alone if this was real or not some drunken hallucination. I said your money if you want your friend to make it home tonight. The bandit's tone became more like a growl. Cedric squirmed a bit as the blade began to press into his neck, his anxiety rising by the second. Please, guys, do as he says! Bill was the first to move, taking a step forward and fumbling with something in his pocket. Nice and easy, boy, just like that. The moonlight reflected upon the metal that Bill drew from his pocket, illuminating not coins but something with a handle. Let him go, you low-life bastard! In an attempt at drunken bravery, Bill grabbed a small pocket knife and rushed forwards towards the aggressor. The bandit let out a sigh at this, shaking his head. They always had to make things difficult. As Bill got closer, the bandit sidestepped out of the way with Cedric. Unfortunately, he'd failed to take into account the drunken sway of the man. Ah! The pocket knife arcs turned unexpectedly, slicing through Cedric's upper arm. The bandit released his grip and used his now free movement to grab Bill and swing him back towards the others, stumbling briefly before falling and rolling to their feet. Ah! Cedric fell to his knees, gripping his arm as he yelled in pain. Bill managed to get up and decided that making a run for it now was the best option. He was quickly followed by stumbling Jack. Lysander stood there for a few moments as he looked around with sheer terror on his face. The bandit put his arm around Cedric and forced him up again, returning his dagger to the coyote's neck once more. Your money or I'll slit your friend's throat. Oh. The line was off like the wind before the bandit even managed to finish his sentence. Lysander! Hey! Help me! Lysander turned to glance at his friend but showed no sign of wanting to slow down. The two shared one last look, their eyes filled with terror at the thought that this was the last time they'd ever see each other again. Lysander also had a look of regret about him as he abandoned his friend, knowing the bandit would certainly kill him. The lion soon disappeared from view and was swallowed by the dark of the night. The bandit let go of Cedric and fell onto the ground. He slowly paced up and down close to where Cedric was crouched, panting and clutching his arm as the blood had started to pour out from the wound. He was feeling dizzier with each passing moment, and everything was starting to grow dim. Well, that failed spectacularly. Fuck! The bandit threw one of his daggers to the ground in frustration and let out a long sigh, then he turned to Cedric. At least I got one of you. Now you be a good boy and keep quiet. He knelt down and reached for his victim's pockets, dagger still headed with precision towards his throat. Ooh. That's not good. That's no good. Okay. There was a moment then, and the bandit froze as the moon appeared from behind the clouds, allowing him to get a better look at said victim. What the... Cedric, is it you? But by now, Cedric was not able to answer as he felt his eyelids grow heavy and everything around him quickly transitioned to pitch black. A pleasant smell filled Cedric's nose, grabbing his attention as soon as he opened his eyes. He seemed to be in an old building that looked like it had been decades since anyone had called it a proper home. The sunlight shone through the broken windows and the large cracks that ran along the wall. By now, Cedric was fully awake and starting to become worried as his mind began racing, the events of the night prior catching up with him. Where was he? Why did that bandit spare him the night before? How did he know who he was? He tried to move and was quickly reminded of the wound in his right arm as soon as he did. Ow! It was still quite painful, however he immediately noticed it had been tended to and someone had carefully bandaged it up. He was lying on an old straw bed, and his back had been propped up against the wall. He caught a whiff of what smelled like boiled potatoes. "Hey, is there anybody here? What's going on?" "Whoa there, everything's okay, don't panic." The bandit from the previous night walked into the room. He was no longer wearing his mask, and Cedric got a good look at his face for the first time. He was a fox, about his own age, with a long, thin muzzle and flowing dark hair. Cedric couldn't believe his eyes and sat there in silence for a moment. "Are you all right? Victor? Is that you?" "Cedric, it is you after all!" The fox smiled gleefully as he put down a plate with a couple of boiled potatoes next to where Cedric was lying. "It's nothing much, I'm afraid, but this is the food I had. I did manage to get some good bread the other day, but I finished it yesterday evening. Sorry." "What are you doing here? I mean, where is here?" "Well, it's fairly simple. This is how I live these days, and this is where I stay when I'm in town. Yesterday evening I decided I would mug a couple drunks, but that didn't go too well, as you know. And then I realized one of them, the one who ended up getting stabbed, was you. I'm sorry about that." "It's okay. I'm just taking this all in." "Of course. You'll need a moment to gather your thoughts." Cedric was quite dumbfounded. He could never have anticipated this. It was as if he was dreaming, and he almost felt like pinching himself to see if this was actually occurring. One second, y'all. Be right back. Alrighty, y'all, and we are back. Let's jump back into it, shall we? Okay. He thought it might be best to try and have some casual conversation for the sake of it, rather than just sitting there like an idiot. "How are you doing?" "As well as can be, I guess. Just getting by any way I can." "What about you? How are you doing? Obviously not too well right now, but you know what I mean." "Not bad, just living my usual and slightly boring life." This was followed by more silence, as Cedric quickly realized small talk wasn't going to get them anywhere anytime soon. He glanced away from Victor for a moment as he gathered the courage to put what he was thinking into words. "Victor, you've become a bandit? How did that happen?" Victor remained quiet for what seemed like quite a while. "That's a story I'd rather be telling your parents about than you." "What do you mean? Are they directly responsible for—" No, it's not like that. It's just, after they forced my family to leave the estate, we had no money at all. My father began looking for employment elsewhere, but it wasn't easy, so I resorted to stealing. It went well at first, but I should have known it wouldn't last. One day I was caught, and they threw me in jail for 2 excruciatingly long years. During that time, my dad found a job, and once I was free again, I found out my family wanted nothing more to do with me. As such, I've had to make my living this way. So yeah, I moved from town to town, but I've always stayed in and around this area for now." Cedric had often wondered what had happened to Victor, but actually hearing the whole story from the fox for the first time was quite a gut punch. He felt awful about it. Worse than that, he felt completely powerless as he hadn't been able to do anything to help his friend when he needed him most. "Victor, I had no idea. I haven't seen you since the day my parents forced you to leave. I want you to know I was always completely against it. You're my best friend. I still can't believe I'm actually talking to you." "It is a strange situation, isn't it?" The fox smiled gently as he began eating his share of the potatoes. "What must you have thought of me when you recognized me, a drunken idiot whose life is in shambles? I'm ashamed of myself." "Oh, come on. You've got nothing whatsoever to be ashamed of. You seem like exactly the same lovable idiot I used to know." "Lovable idiot who always used to get you into trouble, you mean? Remember that time we stole all my father's wigs?" "How could I forget? That was your idea, you rascal." "Yeah, and you went along with it." "We weren't always up to no good, though. Sometimes I was busy beating you at chess." "Hey, I want a fair amount of matches." Victor gazed at the coyote with an amused but skeptical look. "All right, more like 2, but I still won." "What about art? Have you kept up with drawing?" Cedric looked away as if he were slightly embarrassed Victor had brought up the subject. "I gave that up years ago now." "That's a shame. You were seriously talented." The two kept chatting as they ate together. Cedric had almost forgotten just how close he and Victor were, and it didn't take long for either of them to feel comfortable talking about anything. Cedric couldn't help feeling a sense of shame throughout all this. Victor had been through so much, yet here he was making the best of what he had. Cedric, on the other hand, he'd seemingly squandered away his life as well as his fortune and was left with almost nothing. He needed to turn things around. He needed to fix his past mistakes, and he needed to get his act together. After talking for what quickly became more than a few hours, Cedric was doing much better and felt ready to head home. He told Victor as much, and the fox nodded in agreement. "Yeah, you should head back before anyone gets too worried. I might just have to ask you one favor first, though. You're a great friend, and I trust you dearly, but I must make sure no one can find this hideout, so... He hesitated for a moment, looking slightly embarrassed. I'm gonna have to blindfold you for a bit. Oh, I understand, of course. I can't guarantee I won't die while walking down those stairs. I'll make sure you don't meet a premature end, don't worry. A few minutes later, Cedric was standing in a narrow alley close by as Victor took off the cloth he had wrapped around his friend's head. So, I guess it's goodbyes for now, then. I think so. It's been quite unexpected, but absolutely lovely seeing you again, V. And I hope we'll see each other again soon. I somehow doubt it, but hey, never say never. Goodbye, Victor. Take care. Cedric began walking away at a fairly uneven pace, as part of him desperately wished he could stay there. You too. Victor gazed as his friend grew smaller and eventually turned a corner and disappeared from sight. You too. He almost muttered that to himself as he felt his heart sink at the thought of being separated from Cedric again after so many years spent apart. Cedric was walking at a fast pace as he thought about everything that had just happened. He felt reinvigorated after seeing Victor, and although he hadn't spoken of this to the Fox, like he would be able to turn his life around and perhaps prove to everyone, including himself, that he wasn't completely useless. He was on his way to his parents' house. This was another spur-of-the-moment decision, but he felt like he needed to have a proper talk with them. However, as he kept walking, a few less optimistic thoughts started creeping up on him. How was he going to prove to his parents he could turn things around? Would they even want to talk to him in the first place? He also began thinking back on that day, many years before, when Victor's family had been forced to leave his home. Cedric's father said it was because it wasn't right for the son of a nobleman and the son of a servant to be as close friends as Cedric and Victor were. And they most certainly were the closest of friends, as there was a time when they'd spent most of their waking hours together. As he kept walking, Cedric couldn't help but wonder if there was some other reason why his parents had been so worried about their friendship. Soon he reached the old building, whose imposing appearance grew more menacing with each step he took towards it. He reached the door and stood still for a moment. There was nobody around, and only a faint sound of a cart passing by in the distance broke the overbearing silence. There was a damp feel in the air as the sky grew more and more overcast. Okay, Cedric. It's now or never. All you've got to do is knock. Just knock. He automatically raised up his right arm, immediately remembering it was still quite sore. Ouch, damn it! Cedric paused for a moment as he gathered his courage. Then the moment turned into a few minutes, and soon the few minutes became far too many. He slowly lowered his arm and began moving away from the door, looking utterly defeated. I knew it was going to go this way. What was I thinking? As if they'd take me in again after everything that's happened. Cedric let out an aggressive sigh as he quickened his pace and walked in the direction of Lysander's aunt's house. As soon as he set foot inside, he was greeted by the familiar flowery perfume the entire house emanated. Aunt Jane was sitting in her chair, having one of her many daily cups of tea. She didn't move, but clearly noticed Cedric's arrival. Is that you, dear? Good afternoon, madame. Where have you been? I was starting to get worried. Cedric knew she actually didn't really want to hear his reply to that, as the poor lady couldn't concentrate for very long, but he tried answering anyway. Well, a lot of things happened since last night, and let's just say I tried to... That's nice, dear. Have you seen that blue china bowl I use for soups? I'm sure one of the servants has nicked it. No. No, I haven't. He grumbled as he sat down in his usual chair and tilted his head up towards the ceiling. Margaret's stepsister's cousin's husband came to visit me yesterday. I genuinely have no idea who you're talking about. Cedric wasn't doing a good job hiding his rising anger at the current situation he was in. Alright, y'all, I'm going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank y'all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silver, and thank going above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. And thanks to our 2 gold tier patrons, Zeke and Toby. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to our ultimate tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our not safe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!